She sees the Alpha King. Precious pet. He traced her scent and claims her as mate. So there I was, nose pressed against the window of a Tesla in downtown Portland, watching my entire life get hijacked by a woman in yoga pants. Yeah, you heard that right. My name's Mochi. I'm a Shiba Inu with the soul of a philosophy professor and the luck of a guy who shows up to a knife fight holding a pool noodle. And before you ask, no, I can't talk, but I can think. Boy, can I think. I've watched enough episodes of The Crown, Breaking Bad, and The Bachelor to know that humans are messy, dramatic, and somehow always one bad decision away from a Netflix documentary. But this was next level chaos. Welcome back to Gracie Werewolf Storybank. Today's story follows Charlie, Jimmy, and one very opinionated dog named Mochi. A chance encounter, a dangerous bond, and a life that changes forever. Before we begin, I want you to like, subscribe, and drop a comment telling me where you are watching from. Also, I'm using this opportunity to give a special Happy New Year greetings to my European subscribers in Sweden, Belgium, Australia, and the UK. Happy New Year to you, my special subscribers and consistent viewers in the United States, California, Texas, Miami, Philadelphia, New Jersey, and so on, and wherever you are watching from. Thanks for being a part of my growth. I appreciate your support, your likes, your shares, and your comments. This is why I keep bringing you more interesting werewolf romance stories. Relax and enjoy this one. Let's get started. Chapter 1. The Heist Gone Wrong. My owner, Jimmy Dobrik, wasn't just some guy. He was the guy. Alpha King of the Pacific Northwest Pack. Think less Game of Thrones and more CEO of a Fortune 500 company who also happened to turn into a wolf when the moon was full and his temper was short. The man commanded boardrooms and hunting grounds with equal authority. When he walked into a space, the air itself seemed to rearrange around him. He lived in a sleek penthouse in Pennsylvania, all floor-to-ceiling windows and modern art that probably had names I couldn't pronounce. His cars rotated weekly, today's Tesla, tomorrow's vintage Porsche. But to me, he was just Jimmy, the guy who microwaved my chicken at exactly 6 a.m. every morning. The guy who pretended he didn't let me sleep on his $1,000 duvet, even though my fur covered every inch of it. The guy who talked to me like I understood every word. Which, for the record, I did. Life was predictable, comfortable, safe. Until she showed up and torched it all. It was a Thursday morning in late September. One of those Pacific Northwest days where the sky couldn't decide between rain and shine, so it just stayed gray and moody. Jimmy had parked outside Cafe Allegro, his ritual caffeine stop before diving into whatever alpha business consumed his day. Usually pack politics, territorial negotiations, or making someone regret questioning his authority. He left me in the car with the windows cracked, AC running full blast, and Spotify playing some lo-fi instrumental playlist that he thought kept me calm. Standard operating procedure. I'd done this 100 times. I'd curl up on the leather seat, watch people walk by, judge their fashion choices, and wait for Jimmy to return with his ridiculous oat milk latte. But 5 minutes after he disappeared inside, everything went sideways. A woman approached the car. Late 20s maybe. Dark hair piled into one of those messy buns that somehow looked intentional and chaotic at the same time. Oversized gray hoodie with Namaste in bed, printed across the front in faded letters. Black leggings that had clearly seen better days, covered in what looked like cat hair, dog hair, and possibly some questionable stains. Worn-out sneakers. A canvas tote bag slung over one shoulder that seemed to contain her entire life. She looked like she survived on iced coffee, protein bars, and true crime podcasts. Like she hadn't slept properly in weeks. Like she was holding herself together with determination and denial. Her name, I'd later learn, was Charlie Jenner, a veterinary student at the University of Washington, who had exactly $47 in her checking account, 3 maxed out credit cards, and a heart approximately 6 sizes too big for her own good. She stopped in front of the Tesla, peered through the window, made direct eye contact with me, and I swear, I saw her eyes flicker amber for half a second. Not human brown, not normal, amber, like molten gold catching light. My entire body went on alert. "Oh no," she whispered, and the genuine distress in her voice was almost touching. Almost. "You poor thing." "Excuse me? You're locked in there? In this heat? Lady, lady, the AC is running. I can literally feel the cold air on my fur. I'm basically sitting in a mobile refrigerator. This is peak comfort." But Charlie didn't care about logic. She looked around frantically, checking for witnesses, for cameras, for Jimmy. Her hands were shaking. Her breathing had gone quick and shallow. She was working herself up into full panic mode over a completely imaginary crisis. "It's okay," she muttered to herself, or maybe to me. "It's okay. You're going to be okay. I'm getting you out. Please don't." She reached into her tote bag and pulled out, I kid you not, a yoga block. One of those foam rectangular things people use for stretching. Purple, well used, slightly compressed on one corner. She looked at it, looked at the window, looked at me. "I'm so sorry about this." "Wait," she wound up like she was throwing a baseball and slammed the yoga block into the window. Glass exploded inward with a sound like a gunshot. The car alarm immediately started screaming. Shards scattered across the leather seat, across my fur, across the sidewalk. Charlie didn't even flinch. She just reached through the new hole she'd created, unlocked the door from the inside, and wrenched it open. "It's okay, buddy," she said, voice shaking as she scooped me up against her chest. "I'm getting you out of here. You're safe now." "Lady, I live here. This is my car. That is my owner. I was safe 30 seconds ago." But she was already moving, already running. Her heart hammered against my side like a war drum. She smelled like lavender shampoo and anxiety sweat, and something else. Something wild and electric that made every instinct in my small dog body scream danger. And underneath all of it, Wolf. Faint, suppressed, but unmistakable. She was a shifter. A shifter who'd just committed grand theft auto and dognapping in broad daylight. Oh, this was bad. This was so bad. Charlie made it maybe half a block before I heard it. A growl. Not human, not quite wolf. Something in between. A sound that bypassed the brain and went straight to the primal hindbrain that remembered when we were prey. Jimmy stepped out of Cafe Allegro, coffee forgotten, eyes locked on Charlie with the focus of a predator who'd just spotted his target. "Put the dog down." His voice was quiet, controlled, the kind of calm that preceded ultraviolence. I'd heard him use that tone exactly 3 times in the years I'd known him, and each time, someone had ended up in a hospital. Charlie froze mid-step, turned slowly. "Saw him." And instead of doing the smart thing, apologizing, explaining, running, she went full righteous fury. "This is your dog? You left him in a hot car." Jamie's eye twitched. "The AC was running." "I don't see any AC." "That's because you shattered the window, you absolute—" "Don't you dare finish that sentence." I watched this train wreck unfold, with the resigned energy of someone who knew their peaceful existence had just been obliterated. 2 shifters, 1 deeply confused dog, and a mate bond that was about to complicate everything. Because that's what I saw happening in real time. Jimmy's eyes flashed gold. Full alpha, full wolf, full mine. His nostrils flared as he caught her scent properly for the first time. His entire body went rigid, like he'd been electrocuted. Charlie's eyes flashed amber in response. Involuntary, instinctive, terrified. Oh no. Oh no, no, no. The air between them charged like a lightning storm building. Every shifter within 3 blocks probably felt it. That snap of recognition, of destiny, of the universe saying, these two, Right here, this is it. A mate bond. Forming. Right here on South Street, in downtown Pennsylvania, while I dangled between them like the world's most confused hostage. You! Jimmy breathed, and his voice had dropped to something barely human. Something that was all wolf. All instinct. You're. Don't, Charlie warned, backing up. Her grip on me tightened. Don't say it. Mine. The word hung in the air like a grenade with the pin pulled. Charlie's face went white, then red, then something between horror and fury and heartbreak all at once. No, no, absolutely not. I don't care what the universe thinks. I don't care about bonds or fate or. You feel it. I don't feel anything. Liar. And that single word, delivered with absolute certainty, seemed to break something in her. Charlie did the most Charlie thing possible. She ran. Still holding me. Bolted down South Street like her life depended on it, weaving between pedestrians, knocking over a newspaper stand, causing general chaos. And Jimmy, Alpha King, terror of the Pacific Northwest, man who once made a hedge fund manager cry during a merger negotiation, wolf who hadn't been challenged in years, chased her. Not walked, not followed. Chased. Like a man possessed. Like his wolf had taken over and his human brain had simply given up. Like she was the only thing in the world that mattered. People stared. Someone pulled out their phone. A street performer stopped mid-song. And me? I just held on and accepted that my life had officially become a supernatural rom-com. This was just the beginning. Chapter 2. Worst supernatural meet cute. Charlie made it exactly 4 blocks before Jimmy caught up. Not because he was faster, though he absolutely was. Not because she was slow, because she wasn't. But because she stopped to let an elderly woman with a walker cross the street. Even during a supernatural kidnapping chase, this woman had manners. I felt the exact moment Jimmy closed the distance. The air pressure changed. Charlie's breathing hitched. Her arms tightened around me so hard I thought my ribs might crack. She knew he was there before she saw him. Could probably feel him, the same way I could feel a storm coming. Jimmy appeared in front of her, like a shadow gaining mass. 1 second the sidewalk was empty, the next he was there, blocking her path. His suit was still perfect despite the sprint. Not a hair out of place. But his eyes. His eyes were pure gold now. No human brown left in them at all. Give me my dog. His voice was level, almost conversational, which made it 10 times more terrifying. Charlie lifted her chin. Not until you promise you'll take better care of him. He has a platinum pet insurance plan and eats organic chicken. He looked scared. I did not. I looked annoyed. There's a significant difference, and I wish someone would acknowledge it. They stood there in the middle of Seattle's business district. 2 shifters locked in a staring contest that was rapidly becoming a battle of wills. I dangled between them like the world's most confused peace treaty, watching tourists navigate around us like we were street performers. Which, to be fair, we kind of were at this point. A guy in a Seahawks jersey walked past eating a hot dog, barely glancing our way. A woman in a power suit stepped around us while shouting into her phone about quarterly projections. This was Pennsylvania. Public weirdness barely registered. Everyone probably assumed this was either a lover's quarrel or some kind of experimental theater. Jimmy's jaw clenched. A muscle ticked in his cheek. You have no idea what you've just done. Saved a dog from a negligent owner? Charlie shot back, but her voice wavered slightly. She could feel it now. The pull. The bond trying to complete itself. It was written all over her face in the way her pupils dilated, the way her breath came faster. Stolen the Alpha King's most valued possession. Charlie blinked. The what now? And triggered a mate bond that's going to make both our lives a living hell. The words hit her like a physical blow. I watched her face cycle through emotions faster than a slot machine. Confusion melting into realization. Realization hardening into horror. Horror giving way to anger, then more horror, then something that looked suspiciously like panic. Nope. She shoved me into Jimmy's arms so fast I barely had time to process the transfer. Then she backed away from him like he was a live grenade. Nope, 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 I am not doing this. Her voice climbed higher with each word. I have student loans that would make a small country weep. I have clinical rotations that start at 5 a.m. I have a roommate who eats my yogurt and doesn't replace it. And I'm this close to committing a misdemeanor over it. I do not have time for a mate bond with some corporate werewolf. Corporate werewolf. I had to give her credit. That was a new one. Jimmy's expression was completely unreadable. You think you have a choice? I absolutely have a choice. This is America. I have rights. Charlie was gesturing wildly now, her voice carrying down the street. The Constitution, the Bill of Rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of not being magically bonded to a stranger. Not in pack law, you don't. Then pack law can. She stopped herself, bit down on whatever she'd been about to say, took a visible breath, and seemed to gather the shattered pieces of her composure. Look. Her voice came out quieter now, steadier. I'm sorry I broke your window. I'll pay for it, somehow. I'll set up a payment plan. I'll work it off, whatever you need. But I'm not your mate. There's been a mistake. The universe got its wires crossed. This is just biochemistry gone wrong. Jimmy's smile was sharp enough to draw blood. The bond doesn't make mistakes. Well, I do. Constantly. Spectacularly. This is probably just my Tuesday. And despite everything, despite the shattered window, the car alarm still wailing in the distance, the fact that this woman had just committed multiple crimes in under 10 minutes, I saw the corner of Jimmy's mouth twitch. Oh no. Oh no. He was amused. This was catastrophically bad. When Jimmy was angry, he was predictable, controlled. You knew where you stood. But when Jimmy was amused, when something caught his interest, he became unpredictable, playful, like a cat that had found a particularly fascinating mouse and wasn't quite ready to end the game. What's your name? He asked, and his voice had gentled into something almost dangerous in its softness. Why? Because I need to know what to call you when I sue you for property damage. Charlie. Charlie Jenner. And go ahead, sue me. I have nothing. My net worth is negative. My most valuable possession is a succulent I've somehow kept it alive for 3 months, and honestly, I think it's surviving out of spite. Charlie. Jimmy tested the name like he was tasting wine, rolling it around, savoring it. His wolf was practically purring inside him. I could sense it even from here. I'm Jimmy Dobrik. I know who you are. Charlie's voice went flat. Everyone knows who you are. You're the guy who bought half of Pennsylvania and turned it into luxury pack housing that none of us can afford. You're why my friend got priced out of her apartment. You're why there are condos where the community center used to be. Ooh, she went there. The amusement drained from Jimmy's face. That's not. I don't care. Charlie cut him off, and there was steel in her voice now. Real anger beneath the panic. I don't care about your explanations or your justifications. Just take your dog. I'm glad he's okay. I'm sorry about the mess. And if the universe could just undo whatever supernatural nonsense just happened, that would be fantastic. She turned to leave. Jimmy's voice stopped her cold. It doesn't work like that. Charlie didn't turn around. Her shoulders were rigid. Her hands were clenched into fists at her sides. Then I guess we'll both just have to suffer. And she walked away. Just walked away. From an alpha king who could probably have her arrested with a phone call. From a mate bond that should have been making her physically ill to leave. From destiny itself. The crowd swallowed her in seconds. Just another body among hundreds, disappearing into the flow of human traffic like she'd never been there at all. I looked up at Jimmy. His face was a careful mask, but I knew him well enough to read what was underneath. Confusion. Because people didn't walk away from him, ever. Frustration. Because his wolf was howling inside him, demanding he chase, claim, keep. And underneath it all, bright and dangerous fascination. He was hooked. Completely, utterly hooked. Charlie Jenner had just become the most interesting thing in his world, and Jimmy had never been good at letting interesting things go. Well, he muttered, still staring at the spot where she'd disappeared into the crowd. His fingers absently scratched behind my ears, a gesture so automatic he probably didn't even realize he was doing it. This is going to be interesting. Interesting. That was one word for it. Catastrophic was another. Because I could already see how this was going to play out. Jimmy wasn't going to let this go. He couldn't. The bond wouldn't let him. His wolf wouldn't let him. And his own stubborn, controlling, alpha personality definitely wouldn't let him. He was going to pursue her. And Charlie, damaged, terrified, running from something Charlie, was going to bolt like a spooked deer. My peaceful life was officially over. What Jimmy didn't know, what nobody knew yet, was that Charlie Jenner wasn't just some random shifter with bad luck and good intentions. She was running from something. Something that made even the Alpha King look like a minor inconvenience. Something that had been hunting her for 15 years. And by claiming her as his mate, by marking her with his scent, by letting that bond snap into place, Jimmy had just painted a target on both their backs. The kind of target that attracted wolves far more dangerous than either of them could imagine. The clock was ticking. And neither of them had any idea how little time they had left. Chapter 3. The Rules of Engagement. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of Jimmy pacing. This was unusual. Jimmy didn't pace. Jimmy executed plans with the precision of a Swiss watchmaker and the ruthlessness of a honey badger. But today, the man was unraveling. She walked away, he muttered. Nobody walks away. It's not done. The bond doesn't allow for that. I yawned, stretched, gave him my best "have you tried therapy" look. He ignored me and grabbed his phone. 3 calls later, he'd assembled an emergency meeting with his beta, a guy named Kieran who looked like a Vikings extra, and his pack's lead enforcer, a terrifying woman named Sloane, who could probably bench press a Prius. They met in Jimmy's home office. All glass walls and minimalist furniture that cost more than most weddings. "Let me get this straight," Kieran said slowly. "You found your mate. She stole your dog, broke your car window, insulted your real estate ventures. And then just left?" "Yes." "And you didn't chase her? Claim her? Invoke alpha rights?" "She doesn't know pack law. She's clearly been living outside pack structure." Sloane leaned back. "Or she knows exactly what she's doing and she's avoiding you on purpose." Jimmy's eyes flashed gold. "Why would she do that?" "Because you're you." Sloane shrugged. "You're intense. You're powerful. You basically own this city. Maybe she doesn't want to be collateral in your world." "She's my mate." "Has anyone told her that means she doesn't get a say?" Jimmy looked like he'd been slapped. The silence stretched. I watched his jaw work, the muscles in his neck tensing. He was a man used to control, used to outcomes bending to his will. This, her walking away, it violated every instinct he had. Kieran cleared his throat. "What do you want us to do, boss?" "Find her. Discreetly. I need to know who she is, where she came from, and why she's been hiding." "And if she doesn't want to be found?" Jimmy's smile was all teeth. "Then she should have thought of that before she broke into my car." I didn't like that smile. I'd seen it before, right before Jimmy negotiated a hostile takeover of 3 commercial properties in Belltown. Someone always lost when Jimmy smiled like that. This time, I had a feeling it might be him. Meanwhile, across town, Charlie was having a very different morning. She burst into the apartment she shared with her best friend, a human named Felicity who ran a true crime podcast and survived on energy drinks and conspiracy theories. "I messed up," Charlie announced, dropping her bag. "I messed up so bad." Felicity looked up from her laptop. "Scale of 1 to 10? Federal crime. Okay, but like, white collar or I accidentally triggered a supernatural mate bond with the Alpha King of Pennsylvania. Felicity blinked. I'm gonna need you to back up several steps. Charlie explained everything: the car, the dog, the eyes, the bond. When she finished, Felicity stared at her for a long moment, then burst out laughing. It's not funny. It's hilarious. You, you, the woman who once cried during a rom-com because the characters lacked emotional communication skills, just told an alpha king to take a hike. I panicked. You're going to be a legend. They're going to write songs about this. The shifter who said no. Charlie groaned and face planted onto their thrift store couch. The cushions smelled like lavender detergent and old coffee. Home. Safe. Everything she was about to lose. What do I do? Honestly, enjoy the story. You've got, what, 3 weeks before finals? Just avoid downtown. Don't go to any shifter bars. Stay off his territory. His territory is half the city. Then stay in our half. Problem solved. Charlie wanted to believe it. She really did. But as she lay there, she could still feel it. The pull. The bond. Like a compass in her chest, pointing towards something she didn't want to find. Her phone buzzed. A text from her study group, asking if she was still coming to the library later. Normal. Mundane. The life she'd built over 3 years of hiding in plain sight. She'd run from packs before, from bonds, from expectations. But this? This felt different. This felt inevitable. She pulled a throw pillow over her face and screamed into it. Felicity didn't even look up from her laptop. You done? No. Want me to make panic waffles? Yes. Felicity stood, stretching. For what it's worth. If he's really your mate, running won't work. Biology doesn't care about your 5-year plan. Thanks. Super helpful. I'm just saying, maybe talk to him. Explain you're not interested in the whole property of the alpha thing. He's a businessman. Negotiate. Charlie lowered the pillow, stared at the ceiling. The water stain in the corner looked like a wolf's head. Of course it did. What if I can't negotiate with him? Then you're gonna have a really interesting semester. Felicity disappeared into their tiny kitchen. Charlie heard the waffle maker click on, the sound of batter being poured. She closed her eyes, tried to slow her breathing, tried to ignore the way her wolf was pacing inside her skin, restless and agitated. Her wolf wanted to go back, wanted to submit, wanted to curl up at Jimmy's feet and never leave. Her human side wanted to run to Canada and change her name to Brenda. Neither option felt right. What Charlie didn't realize was that Jimmy had already started his search. And what Jimmy didn't realize was that finding Charlie Jenner would uncover secrets that would shake the entire Pacific Northwest supernatural community. Because Charlie wasn't just avoiding a mate bond. She was avoiding a death sentence. 300 miles north, in a compound hidden deep in the Cascade Mountains, someone else had also felt the bond snap into place. And they were already making plans. Chapter 4. The Stalking. Okay, so stalking is a strong word. Jimmy preferred strategic reconnaissance. Over the next week, he learned everything about Charlie Jenner. She was 27, originally from Bend, Oregon, orphaned at 16 when her parents died in a car accident. Jimmy's investigators flagged that. Shifter families didn't die in simple accidents. She'd been bouncing between packs ever since, never staying long, until she landed in Seattle for vet school. She worked part-time at a 24-hour animal clinic in Fremont, volunteered at shelters, had a 3.8 GPA despite working 2 jobs, ate lunch alone, rarely shifted, and had 0 pack affiliations. She was invisible, on purpose. She's hiding, Sloan concluded during their debrief. Question is, from what? Jimmy stared at the file, at Charlie's photo, a candid shot from her university ID. She looked tired, guarded, but there was something in her eyes, a spark. She wasn't broken. She was surviving. I want to talk to her. Kieran raised an eyebrow. She made it pretty clear she wants nothing to do with you. She doesn't understand what the bond means. Or she understands perfectly and she's making an informed choice. Jimmy's jaw tightened. His knuckles went white against the edge of the desk. Set up a meeting, neutral territory. Make it clear I'm not there as alpha. Just as someone who wants answers. And if she says no? She won't. She absolutely said no. Charlie's response, delivered via a carefully worded email from a burner account, was, "Dear Mr. Dobrik, thank you for your interest. Unfortunately, I am not currently accepting new connections. I wish you well in your future endeavors. Best, someone you should forget." Jimmy read it 3 times. Then laughed. Actually laughed. "She's incredible," he muttered. Kieran looked concerned. "Boss, you're aware this is rejection, right?" "She's terrified. Of me. Of the bond. Of something. But she's got fire. That email alone was a professionally worded 'leave me alone' was a challenge." I watched Jimmy's expression shift. He wasn't angry. He was intrigued. Maybe even impressed. This man had built an empire by reading people, by knowing what they wanted before they did. But Charlie? She was a locked door, and he didn't have the key. Yet. So Jimmy did what any self-respecting alpha would do. He showed up at her workplace. At 2 a.m., with me in tow. The clinic was quiet. Just Charlie and one other vet tech on the overnight shift. She was in the back, stitching up a cat who'd tangled with something bigger and lost, when the bell above the door chimed. She didn't even look up. "We're not taking walk-ins right now. If it's an emergency, it is." Her hands froze. The needle hung suspended mid-stitch. She knew that voice. Slowly she turned. Jimmy stood in the waiting room, wearing jeans and a Henley instead of his usual suit. He looked normal, approachable, except for the eyes, which still carried that unsettling intensity. I wagged my tail. At least someone was happy. "You," Charlie breathed. "Me. I sent you an email." "I got it. Beautiful grammar, very professional." "Then why are you here?" "Because we need to talk." "No, we really don't." Charlie N. "Don't say my name like that." "Like what?" "Like it means something." Jimmy stepped closer. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. The cat on the table meowed weakly. The night tech wisely decided to take a break. "It does mean something. You're my—" "Don't." Her voice cracked. "Please don't say it. Because the second you say it out loud, the second I acknowledge it, everything I've built falls apart." "What are you running from?" "That's none of your business. It is if it puts you in danger." "I've been in danger my whole life. I'm still here." "You don't have to be alone." And there it was. The thing he'd been wanting to say since the moment he saw her, since his wolf recognized hers. "You don't have to be alone anymore." Charlie's eyes glistened. For a moment she looked so young, so tired, like she'd been carrying weight that should have broken her years ago. "You don't know what you're offering." "Then tell me." She shook her head, turned back to the cat. Her hands trembled as she picked up the needle again. "You have a life, a pack, a kingdom. I'm nobody." "You're mine." "I'm trouble." "Good." His smile was dangerous. "I like trouble." Charlie laughed despite herself, sharp and bitter. "You really don't know what you're getting into. So enlighten me." She wanted to. I could see it. The words were right there, pushing against her teeth, desperate to escape. But before she could speak, the clinic door burst open. 3 men, leather jackets, eyes that flashed wrong. Not gold, not amber, but silver. Rogue shifters. And from the way Charlie's face drained of color, from the way her whole body went rigid, they weren't there for a checkup. "Found you," the leader said, smiling like a wolf who'd cornered prey. The temperature in the room dropped. I felt it in my bones. The shift from normal to predatory, from safe to deadly. Charlie moved in front of Jimmy instinctively, protectively. "Run," she whispered. Jimmy's laugh was low and dark. "Sweetheart, I don't run. You don't understand." "Oh, I understand perfectly." He stepped forward, putting himself between Charlie and the rogues. His eyes flashed full gold. Power rolled off him in waves, the kind that made lesser wolves drop to their knees. His voice dropped into alpha command. "You just made a very bad choice." The rogues hesitated. They'd expected to find Charlie alone, vulnerable. Instead, they'd walked into the territory of the most powerful alpha on the West Coast. The leader recovered first. His silver eyes glinted with something ugly. The Alpha King, protecting Darius Kane's runaway daughter. How poetic. Jimmy went completely still. Behind him, Charlie's breath hitched. Darius Kane. The name echoed through the Pacific Northwest supernatural community like a ghost story. A rogue alpha who'd tried to start a war 15 years ago, who'd slaughtered 3 pack councils, who'd been hunted down and killed by the unified packs. Or so everyone thought. Jimmy turned slowly to look at Charlie. Her face was a mask of shame and terror. "Charlie," he said quietly, "who's Darius Kane?" She met his eyes, and when she spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. "My father." The clinic went dead silent. Even the cat stopped meowing. Jimmy's expression didn't change, but I saw the calculation happening behind his eyes. The pieces clicking into place. The orphan story. The constant running. The fear. "Your father," he repeated slowly, "is the rogue who tried to overthrow the council?" "Was. He's dead." "Funny," the leader of the rogues said, stepping closer, "because we just got word he's very much alive, and he wants his little girl back." Charlie's hands curled into fists. "I'm not going anywhere with you." "That's not really your choice." "Actually," Jimmy said, his voice dropping to something lethal, "it is. Because she's under my protection now, which means if you touch her, you're declaring war on my pack, on every allied pack in the Northwest, on me." The rogues exchanged glances. They hadn't expected this level of resistance. "You'd risk everything for her?" the leader asked. "You don't even know what she is, what she's capable of." "I know enough. She's got her father's blood, his violence. One day she'll snap just like he did, and everyone around her will pay the price." "Get out," Jimmy said softly. "Now, before I forget I'm trying to be civilized." The rogues backed toward the door, but the leader paused, looking at Charlie one last time. "He'll find you, and when he does, the Alpha King won't be able to protect you. No one can." They left. The door swung shut. The silence that followed was suffocating. Charlie stood frozen, her back still to Jimmy. Her shoulders shook. "Charlie, don't." Her voice was thick. "Don't say anything, just go. Please." "I'm not leaving you." "You should. They're right. I'm dangerous. Everyone around me gets hurt." "Look at me." She didn't move. "Charlie, look at me." Slowly she turned. Tears streaked her face. "My father was a monster. He killed innocent people, tried to burn down the entire pack system, and everyone thinks, I'm going to turn out just like him." "Are you?" "I don't know." The admission broke something in her. "I don't know, and that terrifies me more than anything." Jimmy closed the distance between them, cupped her face in his hands. "You're not your father." "You don't know that." "Yes, I do. Because if you were, you wouldn't have spent the last 11 years running. You wouldn't be working yourself to exhaustion trying to save animals. You wouldn't have walked away from me to protect me from whatever this is." "Jimmy, I'm not going anywhere. They want to find you? They'll have to go through me first. And trust me, they won't make it." Charlie closed her eyes, leaned into his touch. For just a moment, she let herself have this safety, connection, someone who didn't flinch from her truth. Then she pulled back. You need to know everything before you make this choice. Then tell me. She took a shaky breath. My father isn't dead. He's been hiding for 15 years, building an army. And he wants me because I'm the only one who can complete his ritual, the one that will give him absolute power over every shifter in North America. Jimmy's eyes narrowed. What kind of ritual? The kind that requires alpha bloodlines, his and mine. Over my dead body. That's what I'm afraid of. Chapter 5. The Past Catches Up. So, Darius Kane. Let me give you the SparkNotes version, because even I only knew him as the boogeyman older wolves whispered about. 15 years ago, he tried to unite the rogue packs across Oregon and Washington. Not for peace, for power. He wanted to overthrow the established alphas, burn the pack territories, and rebuild under his rule. Classic supervillain stuff. The war lasted 6 months. It was brutal. Entire bloodlines were wiped out. And in the end, Darius was cornered in the Cascade Mountains by a coalition of alphas, including a much younger Jimmy Dobrik, and supposedly killed. His body was never found. But everyone assumed that was just mountain wolves being thorough. Turns out, not so much. For a long moment, nobody moved. Charlie stood frozen, her back against the exam table. Her hands gripped the metal edge so hard her knuckles went white. She was shaking, not from fear, from rage. I should have kept running, she finally said. Jimmy crouched in front of her, gave her space but stayed close enough to catch her if she fell. Why didn't you tell me? Tell you what? That I'm the daughter of the most hated rogue alpha in the Northwest? That every pack out there would love to see me dead just because of my blood? That forming a bond with me makes you a target? I can handle it. You shouldn't have to. Charlie. He's alive, Jimmy. Her voice broke. Tears spilled over, and she didn't bother wiping them away. My father is alive, and I spent 15 years thinking I was free, that I could just disappear, be normal. But he never stopped looking, and now he knows where I am, and he'll come for me, and everyone near me will. Jimmy took her face in his hands, forced her to look at him. Breathe. I can't. Breathe. She did, shaky, uneven, but she did. Listen to me, Jimmy said. His thumbs brushed away her tears. I don't care who your father is. I don't care what he's done. You are not him. You are not his sins. And if he comes for you, he'll have to go through me. And my pack. And every ally I have. Why? The word came out broken, desperate. Why would you do that? Because you're mine, and I protect what's mine. Charlie closed her eyes. Fresh tears leaked out. She wanted to. God, she wanted to. But the bond terrified her. Not because of Jimmy, because of what it meant. Bonds were permanent. They couldn't be severed, not without destroying both wolves in the process. If she accepted it, if she let herself feel it fully, there was no going back. And if her father came for her? Jimmy would stand in his way. And Jimmy would die. She'd watched people die for her before. Her mother, her pack siblings, anyone who'd tried to protect her from Darius's plans. She'd spent her whole life being the reason people got hurt. She couldn't do that to Jimmy. I need time, she whispered. Jimmy nodded slowly. His jaw worked. Every instinct was telling him to refuse, to keep her close, to lock her in his penthouse until this threat was neutralized. Okay. And space. How much? Enough to figure out what to do, how to keep you safe. Charlie. Please. He wanted to argue. I could see it in every line of his body. The wolf in him was screaming to claim her, to mark her, to make it impossible for anyone to take her away. But the man? The man respected her. 1 week, he said finally. You get 1 week, then we talk, really talk, and we figure this out together. And if I run? His smile was sharp, promised. I'll find you, I'll always find you. But I won't force you to stay. That's not what mates do. What do mates do? They choose each other, every day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. The words settled into Charlie like stones. Heavy, real. Charlie left the clinic 20 minutes later, after making sure the injured cat was stable and the night tech was okay. Jimmy didn't follow her, but he watched through the window until she disappeared around the corner. Then he called Kieran. I need protection detail on Charlie Jenner. Discreet. She doesn't know they're there. You think the rogues will come back? I think Darius Kane just found out his daughter is bonded to an Alpha King, which means we're at war. Silence. Then, boss. I know. Assemble the council. We move at dawn. He hung up, looked down at me. Well, Mochi, your life was boring once, wasn't it? I sneezed. Translation? Dude, you're the one who claimed the most complicated woman in the Pacific Northwest. This is on you. Jimmy picked me up, scratched behind my ears, stared out at the empty street where Charlie had vanished. I'm not losing her, he said quietly. I don't care what it costs. I licked his face. Translation? I know. That's what worries me. Meanwhile, 300 miles north, in a compound buried deep in the Cascade Mountains, Darius Kane sat in a room that smelled like pine and old blood. The three rogues knelt before him, nervous, sweating. She's bonded, the leader said, to the Alpha King. Darius didn't react, didn't move, just sat there, fingers steepled, eyes closed like he was meditating. Then he smiled. Perfect. Sir? My daughter always was resourceful. Bonding with the most powerful alpha on the West Coast? That's not a complication. That's an opportunity. How so? Darius opened his eyes. They were silver. Wrong. Empty of anything human. Because when I take her, I won't just get the key to the ritual. I'll get leverage over every allied pack in the Northwest. They'll hand me their territories, rather than watch their precious Alpha King suffer. And if he fights? Then he dies, and my daughter learns the same lesson her mother did. He stood, towering. You can't fight fate, and her fate has always been at my side. The rogues shifted uncomfortably. Get out, Darius said softly, and send word to our contacts in Pennsylvania. I want eyes on her every move. I want to know who she talks to, where she goes, who she trusts. Yes, sir. They left. Darius walked to the window, stared out at the mountain peaks dusted with early snow. Soon, Charlotte, he murmured. Very soon. What Jimmy didn't know, what nobody knew, was that Darius Kane wasn't just alive. He was building an army. And Charlie? She was the key to everything. Beat 6. When your past is a literal warlord. Let me tell you something about Darius Kane that even the history books got wrong. He didn't want power for power's sake. He wanted revenge. See, before he went rogue, Darius was a respected alpha, had a pack in Bend, a mate, a daughter, a life. Then the pack councils decided to modernize, to integrate with human society, to follow their laws, their rules. Darius called it surrender. When he spoke out, they labeled him a radical. When he organized resistance, they called him dangerous. And when his mate, Charlie's mother, died during a council-sanctioned raid on suspicious rogue activity, that's when he snapped. He took Charlie, barely 12 years old, and disappeared into the wilderness. For 2 years, they lived off the grid. He trained her, taught her to fight, to survive, to never trust the packs. Then one night, he told her to run. They're coming for me, he'd said. And if they find you, they'll use you to hurt me. So you run and you don't look back, and you survive. She'd run. For 15 years, she ran. But here's the thing about running. Eventually, you get tired. Charlie didn't go home that night. She went to the one place she always went when the world got too loud. Discovery Park, on the edge of Pennsylvania, where the trees met the water and the city felt like a distant memory. She sat on a bench overlooking Puget Sound, watched the lights from the ferries drift across the dark water. The wind smelled like salt and pine, cold enough to sting, but not enough to make her leave. And tried to figure out how she'd ended up here. You always did like the quiet. She didn't turn, didn't flinch. If you're here to kill me, just make it quick. The woman who sat down beside her laughed softly. I'm not here to kill you, Charlie. Charlie finally looked. The woman was maybe 50, with silver-streaked hair and eyes like storm clouds. She wore hiking boots and a fleece jacket and looked like someone's cool aunt. But Charlie knew better. Freya! Hey, kiddo! Freya had been her father's beta, his right hand, and the closest thing Charlie ever had to a second mother. How long have you been following me? About 3 years. 3? Charlie's jaw dropped. 3 years? You're hard to track. I'm impressed. Why didn't you? Because you were safe. You were hidden. You were free. And as long as Darius thought you were lost, he left you alone. Freya's expression darkened. But then you went and triggered a mate bond with the Alpha King in the middle of downtown Pennsylvania. I didn't mean to. Doesn't matter. Every shifter within 50 miles felt it, including your father's scouts. Charlie's stomach dropped. The fairy lights blurred. Is he coming? Not yet. He's still in Bend, rebuilding. But he will. And when he does... Freya trailed off, looked out at the water. He's not the man you remember, Charlie. The years have been hard. He's more wolf than man now, and his plans... I don't want to know. You need to. I don't. Charlie stood, shaking. I'm not part of his war. I never was. He told me to run. He wanted me gone. He wanted you safe. There's a difference. Then why is he looking for me now? Freya met her eyes. Because he's dying. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. What? He's sick. Some kind of poison that got into his blood during a fight 2 years ago. The healers say he has 6 months, maybe less. Freya's voice softened. He wants to see you, before the end. Charlie felt like the ground had disappeared beneath her feet, like she was falling and there was nothing to grab onto. Her father, the man who'd taught her to hunt, who'd braided her hair before bed, who'd turned into a monster, was dying. I can't. Charlie, I can't. Do you know what it took to walk away? To build a life that wasn't about revenge and war and blood? If I go back, if I see him, you'll lose yourself. Exactly. Freya nodded slowly. Okay, but you should know, he's not going to accept that. And neither will the rogues who still follow him. To them, you're not just his daughter, you're his heir. I don't want to be. Doesn't matter, they'll come for you anyway. To protect you, to use you, or to eliminate you before you become a threat. She stood, brushed dirt off her jeans. You've got 2 choices, kid. Hide and hope they don't find you, or fight. I've been hiding my whole life. I know, and you're tired. Freya squeezed her shoulder. Her hand was warm, steady. Everything Charlie didn't feel. But you're not alone anymore. You've got a mate, a powerful one. Use that. I can't drag Jimmy into this. Sweetheart, the second you bonded with him, you already did. Now it's just a question of whether you face it together, or you let him walk into this blind. She left as quietly as she'd arrived, disappearing into the trees like a ghost. Charlie sat back down, put her head in her hands. And for the first time in 15 years, she let herself cry. Not quiet tears, not the kind you hide, the kind that ripped out of her chest like something dying, the kind that shook her whole body. She cried for her mother, for the pack siblings she'd lost, for the little girl who just wanted to be normal, for the woman she'd become, always looking over her shoulder, always waiting for the other shoe to drop. She cried until there was nothing left. Then she pulled out her phone, stared at Jimmy's number. Her thumb hovered over the call button. She should tell him. She should warn him about what was coming, about who was coming. But the words wouldn't come. Because telling him meant admitting she couldn't protect him, meant admitting she was scared. She put the phone away. Meanwhile, across the city, Jimmy was having his own crisis. The Pack Council had assembled in his penthouse, 12 of the most powerful shifters in Pennsylvania, representing different territories and interests. They sat around his dining table like it was the Last Supper, and honestly, the vibes were about that tense. Kieran presented what they knew. Darius Kane was alive, Charlie was his daughter, and the rogues were mobilizing. The response was not great. "You claimed her?" Councilmember Nash, an older wolf who looked like he'd stepped out of a country club, stared at Jimmy like he'd announced he was joining a cult. "The daughter of Darius Kane? I didn't know who she was when the bond formed." "That's not an excuse, that's a liability." "She's not her father. Her blood is." Nash slammed his hand on the table. The impact rattled wine glasses. "Do you have any idea what this looks like? What message this sends? We spent years hunting Kane, we lost people. And now you're telling us you've mated his daughter? I'm telling you I found my mate. Who she's related to doesn't change that." Sloane leaned forward. "With all due respect, Alpha, it changes everything. The other packs will see this as betrayal. Or worse, as you choosing a side." "I'm not choosing sides, I'm choosing her." "Same thing?" another council member muttered. Jimmy's eyes flashed gold. His alpha presence filled the room like a physical weight. The kind that made weaker wolves want to bare their throats. The kind that reminded everyone why he was Alpha King and they weren't. "Let me be very clear. Charlie Jenner is under my protection. She is my mate. Anyone who threatens her threatens me. Anyone who harms her will answer to me personally. Is that understood?" Silence. Then Nash spoke again, quieter this time. "What if she's a plant? What if this whole thing, the bond, the meeting, was planned by Kane to get close to you?" "It wasn't." "How do you know?" "Because I know." Jimmy's voice was firm, final. "I know her wolf. I know her heart. She's been running from him for 15 years. She wants nothing to do with his war." "But his war wants everything to do with her," Sloane said softly. "And through her, with you, with all of us." The truth of that settled over the room like snow. Heavy, suffocating. Kieran broke the silence. "So what do we do?" Jimmy looked around the table, at the faces of wolves who'd followed him for years, who trusted him, who were now scared. He couldn't blame them. Darius Kane had nearly destroyed everything once before. The scars from that war still lingered, broken alliances, dead alphas, territories that never fully recovered. We prepare. We fortify our territories. We reach out to allied packs, and we make it very clear that attacking Charlie is attacking the Crown Pack. "And if Darius comes for her anyway?" Jimmy's smile was cold. "Then we finish what we started 15 years ago." Nash stood. "I'm out." "What?" "I'm not risking my pack for this. For her. I'm sorry, Alpha, but you're on your own." He walked out. 2 other council members followed. Jimmy watched them go, his jaw tight, his hands curled into fists on the table. Kieran cleared his throat. "We still have 9 packs, that's enough." "Is it?" "It has to be." Jimmy nodded, but inside he was calculating. 9 packs against however many Darius had gathered. It wasn't good odds. But he'd faced worse. At least that's what he told himself. But here's what nobody in that room knew. Charlie wasn't planning to let them fight her battles. She was planning something far more dangerous. Something that would either end the war before it started, or destroy everything she'd built. Because Charlie had something her father wanted more than territory. More than revenge. More than power. And she was willing to trade it. Even if it cost her everything. Chapter 7. The Choice That Changes Everything. 3 days later, Charlie walked into Jimmy's penthouse unannounced. She found him in his home gym. Because of course he had a home gym. Shirtless, beating the absolute hell out of a punching bag. Sweat gleamed on his skin. His movements were precise, controlled. But underneath? Pure violence. He was pissed. He'd given her space like she asked. Hadn't called. Hadn't texted. hadn't shown up at her apartment, even though every instinct screamed at him to do exactly that. But space was killing him. The bond stretched between them like a rubber band pulled too tight. Every hour away from her physically hurt, like something vital had been ripped out of his chest and was walking around Seattle without him. He sensed her before he saw her. The bond sang. His wolf surged. He stopped mid-punch, turned. Charlie stood in the doorway, wearing jeans and an oversized flannel. She looked exhausted, terrified, determined. "Hi," she said quietly. "Hi." Silence. The kind that's so loaded it might explode. Jimmy grabbed a towel, wiped his face, didn't trust himself to move closer. If he touched her right now, he wouldn't let go. "I'm sorry," she finally said. "For running, for not telling you, for everything." "You don't have to apologize." "I do. You deserve the truth. You deserved—" She stopped, swallowed hard. Her hands twisted in the hem of her flannel. "I came here to tell you that I'm leaving Pennsylvania." Jimmy felt the words hit him in the gut, sharp and undeniable. "What?" "It's the only way to keep you safe. If I'm gone, my father has no reason to target your pack. The rogues will follow me, not you, and—" "No." "Jimmy." "No." He crossed to her in 3 strides. The towel dropped to the floor. "You don't get to make that choice alone. It's my life. And you're my mate. Which means your life is my life. Your fights are my fights. Your past, your future, all of it. It's ours now. You don't understand? Then make me understand." His voice echoed off the walls, raw, desperate. He took a breath, gentler now. "Talk to me, Charlie. Really talk to me, because running, that's not a solution. That's just dying slowly." Tears spilled down her cheeks. She'd been holding them back for 3 days, for 3 years, for 15 years. "I don't know how to stop running." "You start by staying. And if my father comes, we deal with it, together. And if people die because of me? People die because of choices. His choices, not yours." Jimmy cupped her face. His hands were warm, steady. Everything she wasn't. "You are not responsible for his sins. Say it." "I can't." "Say it." "I am not." Her voice cracked. "I am not responsible for his sins." Again. "I am not responsible for his sins. Do you believe it?" "I'm trying to." "Then try here. With me. Stop running. Stay." Charlie looked up at him, at this man who barely knew her, but was willing to go to war for her, who saw past her blood, her name, her history, and somehow still wanted her. The bond hummed between them, warm, insistent. Right. Like 2 puzzle pieces finally clicking into place. "If I stay," she whispered, "everything changes." "Good, I'm ready for change." "You might not be ready for this change. Try me." She took a shaky breath. This was it. The moment she stopped protecting him from the truth and started trusting him with it. "My father isn't just sick. He's dying. And before he goes, he wants to start one last war. The kind that'll make what happened 15 years ago look like a playground fight. He's been recruiting rogues, outcasts, anyone with a grudge against the pack system, and he wants me to lead them when he's gone." Jimmy went very still. His hands didn't move from her face, but his eyes sharpened. "And what do you want?" "I want it to stop. All of it. The fighting, the revenge, the endless cycle of violence. I want—" She met his eyes. "I want peace, even if it costs me everything." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I have a plan. It's dangerous. It's probably stupid. But it might be the only way to end this without a war." "Charlie? I'm going to Bend. I'm going to see my father. And I'm going to convince him to stand down." Jimmy's expression was unreadable. His jaw worked. She could see him processing, calculating, running through every possible outcome. "Alone? It has to be me." "No, it doesn't. He won't listen to anyone else." "Then I'm coming with you." Jimmy. Not negotiable. His voice dropped into alpha command. Final, absolute. You want to walk into the lion's den? Fine. But you don't do it alone. We're mates, Charlie. That means we face the monsters together. She stared at him. At this impossible, stubborn, fearless man who'd somehow become the most important person in her world in less than a month. And despite everything, the terror, the uncertainty, the weight of what they were about to do, she smiled. You're insane, says the woman planning to negotiate with a dying warlord. Fair point. Jimmy pulled her close, wrapped his arms around her like he could shield her from the entire world. Like if he held tight enough, nothing could hurt her. Charlie melted into him. Let herself have this. Safety, warmth, connection. We'll figure this out, I promise. Charlie buried her face in his chest, breathed him in, pine and smoke, and something uniquely him. Something that made her wolf settle, made her feel like she could finally stop running. I'm scared. Me too. Really? Terrified. But I'm more scared of losing you, so we do this. We go to Bend. We face your father. And we end this. Together. She pulled back just enough to look at him. His eyes were still gold, still fierce. But there was something else there too. Something soft. Why? Why would you risk everything for me? Because you're worth it. Because the bond chose right. Because in 3 weeks, you've made me feel more alive than I have in years. He kissed her forehead. Soft, reverent. And because I'm already halfway in love with you. Chapter 8. The road to Bend. They left Pennsylvania before dawn. Just Jimmy, Charlie, Kieran. Because Jimmy refused to go without backup. Sloane. Because Sloane refused to let Jimmy go without her backup. And me. Yeah, I got dragged along. Again. We took 2 cars, Jimmy's Range Rover and Kieran's truck, and headed south on I-5. The drive to Bend was about 3 hours. 3 hours of tense silence, classic rock on the radio, and Charlie staring out the window like she was memorizing her last glimpse of freedom. Jimmy drove, kept one hand on the wheel, one hand on Charlie's. She didn't pull away. You okay? He asked quietly. Ask me when this is over. Deal. Kieran, sitting in the back with me, leaned forward. So, what's the play when we get there? We request a parley, Charlie said. Her voice was steady, but I could smell the fear on her. Sharp, metallic. Under old pack law, my father has to honor it. It's neutral ground, no violence. And if he doesn't honor it? Then we improvise. Great, I love improvising in hostile territory. Sloane's voice crackled over the radio from the other car. Eyes up. We've got a tail, 2 vehicles. Been following us since Tacoma. Jimmy's jaw tightened. His hand squeezed Charlie's. Rogues? Probably. Want me to lose them? No, let them follow. They're just scouts. If we shake them, they'll know we're hiding something. Charlie's hand tightened in his. They're reporting back to my father. Good. Let him know we're coming. Let him see I'm not hiding you. I'm standing with you. The miles passed. Towns blurred together. Olympia, Centralia, Portland, each one taking them closer to the reckoning Charlie had been running from for 15 years. She watched the landscape change from evergreen forests to volcanic peaks, from rain to high desert, from Seattle's gray skies to Central Oregon's endless blue. Going home always felt like dying a little. We reached Bend just after 10 a.m. It was one of those picturesque Central Oregon towns. Mountains in the distance, breweries on every corner, tourists in fleece jackets taking selfies with their dogs. The kind of place where you'd never guess a rogue alpha warlord was hiding in plain sight. But Charlie knew exactly where to go. She directed them to the outskirts of town, where the houses gave way to forest and the roads turned from asphalt to dirt. Finally, she pointed to a turnoff barely visible through the trees. There. They drove another mile down a winding path until they reached a compound. And I'm using the word compound generously. It was part fortress, part survivalist camp, part biker gang headquarters. A main lodge surrounded by smaller cabins. Trucks and motorcycles parked everywhere, generators humming, solar panels on every roof. And shifters, at least 30 of them, watching our approach with eyes that glowed in the shadows. Jimmy stopped the car. Didn't get out. His knuckles were white on the steering wheel. "Last chance," he said to Charlie. "We can turn around right now. Nobody would blame you." Charlie shook her head, unbuckled her seatbelt. "I'm tired of running." "Then let's end this." They stepped out. Immediately, rogues surrounded them. Big, rough-looking wolves who smelled like violence and bad decisions. Leather jackets, scarred faces, the kind of shifters who'd chosen freedom over law and paid for it with everything. But they didn't attack, just watched. Waiting. The lodge door opened, and Darius Kane walked out. He looked smaller than Charlie remembered. Not physically. He was still tall, broad-shouldered, with the kind of presence that made space feel tight. The kind of man who commanded attention just by existing. But there was something diminished about him, something faded. His hair was more gray than black now. His face was gaunt, hollowed out. His skin had that papery quality that came with serious illness. His eyes, once sharp and fierce and burning with purpose, looked tired. He was dying, anyone could see it. But when he saw Charlie, his entire face transformed. "My little wolf," he breathed. Charlie's composure cracked. Tears welled up before she could stop them. "Hi, Dad." For a moment, they just stared at each other across the compound yard. 15 years of distance, 15 years of choices, 15 years of missing. All of it contained in that single look. Then Darius smiled, soft, genuine. "You got tall. You got old." He laughed, actually laughed, and the sound was warm and broken all at once. "Come here, kid." Charlie hesitated. Her feet felt glued to the ground. Every instinct screamed at her to run, to protect herself, to not let him back in. But she'd come here to stop running. So she crossed the space between them and let her father pull her into a hug. Behind her, Jimmy watched, his entire body tense, ready to intervene, ready to protect. His eyes tracked every rogue in the compound, every potential threat, every escape route. But Darius just held his daughter, held her like she was the only thing keeping him tethered to the world. Like if he let go, he'd crumble into dust. "I missed you," he whispered into her hair. "Every single day." "Then why did you send me away?" "To save your life, and I'd do it again." He pulled back, hands on her shoulders, looked at her like he was memorizing her face. "But you're here now. That's all that matters." Charlie took a breath. This was it. The moment everything changed, or everything fell apart. "I'm not here to join you." Darius's smile faded. "Charlie, I'm here to ask you to stop. The war, the recruiting, all of it. It's time to let it go. You don't understand I do understand. I understand you lost Mom. I understand you're angry. I understand you want revenge. But Dad," her voice broke, "revenge won't bring her back. It won't heal you. It'll just create more orphans like me." Silence fell over the compound. Every rogue held their breath. Darius looked at her for a long moment. His jaw worked. His eyes glistened. Then his gaze shifted past her to Jimmy. "The Alpha King, you bonded with him." "Yes. And he's here with you, supporting this." "Yes." Darius studied Jimmy with the kind of intensity that could strip paint, the kind that saw past the expensive clothes and the polished exterior to the wolf underneath. Measuring, calculating. "You love my daughter?" Jimmy didn't hesitate, didn't flinch. "I do." "And you'll protect her, no matter what?" "With my life." "Even from me?" "Especially from you." The compound went dead silent. Every rogue tensed. Hands moved toward weapons. Eyes flashed gold and silver. Then, shockingly, Darius laughed. Good, that's good. He looked back at Charlie. Pride shone in his tired eyes. You chose well, little wolf. Dad. I'm dying, Charlie. 6 months, maybe less. The healers have tried everything. Wolfsbane poisoning from that fight 2 years ago. It's in my bones now, in my blood. He coughed. A wet, rattling sound. So I made a choice. I could die bitter and alone, or I could die trying to change the system that killed your mother. By starting a war. By forcing them to listen. By making them see what they've done to people like us. Rogues aren't monsters. We're just wolves who refuse to kneel. And how many people will die for that message? As many as it takes. That's not justice, that's genocide. It's revolution. It's murder. Charlie's voice rang out across the compound. Strong, clear, unflinching. And I won't let you do it. I won't let you use my name, my blood, my existence to justify more violence. Darius's expression hardened. The warmth drained from his face. You think you can stop me? I think I can ask you to choose love over hate. One last time, for me. Father and daughter stared at each other. And for just a second, a heartbeat, I saw Darius waver. Saw the man he used to be peek through the warrior he'd become. Then one of his rogues stepped forward. The same guy from the clinic. The one who'd threatened Charlie. The one with the nail-eating grin and dead eyes. Alpha, she's been poisoned by the pack system. She doesn't understand. I understand perfectly, Charlie snapped. She turned on him, fearless. I understand that you're using my father's grief to fuel your own agenda. That you want this war because you thrive on chaos. But she pointed at Darius. He's better than this. He's always been better than this. The rogue snarled, stepped closer. You have no right. She has every right, Darius said quietly, but his voice carried. Alpha command threaded through every word. She's my daughter, my heir, and she's earned the right to speak. The rogue backed off, reluctantly. Darius turned back to Charlie, really looked at her, saw the woman she'd become, the strength, the courage, the compassion. Everything her mother had been. What do you want, Charlie? I want you to live your last 6 months in peace. I want you to stop running, stop fighting. Let me take care of you. Let me... Her voice cracked, broke. Let me have my father back, even if it's just for a little while. Tears streamed down her face. She didn't bother wiping them away, didn't hide, didn't protect herself. Just stood there, vulnerable, honest, brave. Please, Dad, choose me, choose us, choose peace. The compound was silent. Every rogue watched their alpha, waiting for his decision. Waiting to see if 15 years of rage could be undone by one desperate plea. Darius looked at his daughter. This brave, broken, beautiful woman who'd survived without him. Who'd built a life. Who was offering him something he didn't deserve. Forgiveness. He closed his eyes. And when he opened them, they were wet. Okay, he whispered. Okay, little wolf, I'll stand down. The compound erupted. Half the rogues cheered, shouted, embraced each other like they'd just been released from prison. The other half looked ready to riot. The clinic rogue lunged forward, his face twisted with rage. You can't be serious. We've spent years. Enough. Darius's alpha command rolled over them like thunder, like an avalanche. Absolute, final. The war is over. Anyone who has a problem with that can leave, now. About 10 rogues walked away. Just turned and left. Engines roared to life. Tires kicked up dust. The rest stayed. Darius turned to Jimmy, extended his hand. Take care of her. I will. And if you don't, I'll come back from the grave and make you wish you'd died in the war. Despite everything, Jimmy smiled, shook his hand. Noted. Charlie hugged her father again, held him tight, breathed in the familiar scent of pine and leather and home. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for saving me from myself. They stayed in bed for 3 days. Charlie helped her father settle his affairs, made peace with the rogues who were willing, buried the hatchet, metaphorically, with a past that had haunted her for 15 years. She sat with him on the porch every evening, watched the sun set over the Cascades, talked about everything and nothing. Her mother, her childhood, her life they'd lost. And slowly, painfully, they started to heal. Jimmy gave them space but stayed close. Worked with Kieran and Sloane to establish communication lines between Darius's rogues and the pack councils. Started building bridges where there had only been walls. On the third night, they sat outside under the stars, just the two of them and me. The sky was impossibly clear. The Milky Way stretched overhead like someone had spilled diamonds across black velvet. "I never thought I'd see him again," Charlie said softly. "How does it feel? Like I can finally breathe." Jimmy pulled her close. She fit against him perfectly, like they'd been designed to do exactly this. "What happens now?" "Now? We go home. I finish vet school, you run your pack. We figure out this whole mate thing." She looked up at him. "Together." "Together," he agreed. And then, finally, he kissed her. It was soft, tentative, full of promise and hope, and a future that suddenly felt possible. The bond blazed between them like sunrise. Warm, bright, inevitable. Epilogue. 1 year later. Charlie graduated top of her class. Opened a clinic that specialized in treating shifter animals. Turns out, werewolves have weird pets. She'd treated everything from a 3-legged raccoon to a parrot that only spoke in death metal lyrics. Darius passed away peacefully, surrounded by family. Charlie held his hand. Jimmy stood behind her. And for the first time in 15 years, Darius died knowing his daughter was safe, loved, free. His rogues scattered, most integrated into established packs. The war that never happened became a story of peace instead. And Jimmy? He married Charlie in a small ceremony overlooking Puget Sound. No pomp, no politics, just family, friends, and a Shiba Inu ring bearer who absolutely stole the show. Because that's me. I'm the star of this story. Okay, fine, they're the stars. But I'm a very close second. Charlie and Jimmy bought a house in the suburbs. Big yard, white fence, the whole thing. They fought sometimes, laughed more, built a life that was messy and complicated and theirs. And me? I got a little sister, a rescue pup named Kona, who chewed everything and had the energy of a caffeinated squirrel. But I didn't mind. Because for the first time in my long philosophical dog life, I understood something humans spend lifetimes figuring out. Home isn't a place. It's the people, and dogs, who choose to stay. Before you go, before you close this video, I need something from you. This story? This hour and 25 minutes of chaos and romance and one very opinionated dog? It only matters if you felt it. So tell me, drop a comment right now. Did you cry? Did you laugh? Did you find yourself rooting for Charlie and Jimmy, even when it seemed impossible? And please, tell me where you're listening from. London, Los Angeles, Oxford, anywhere. Because knowing you're out there, connecting with these characters, makes every word worth it. If you loved this story, subscribe to Gracie Werewolf Story Bank. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a story. Share this with someone who needs a good cry and a happy ending. We've got more stories coming, more mates, more chaos, more dogs with philosophical inner monologues, but only if you're here for it. So stay. Be part of this. And thank you, truly, for letting us tell you stories that matter. Until next time, keep howling.